Welcome to the AJ Brown Show, where we talk about all things investing, options trading, and the like. Now, here's your host, AJ, whose primary mission in life is to help you become a better investor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special holiday episode of the AJ Brown Show. My name is Cyprian Francis, and with me, as always, the main man of the hour, AJ Brown. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. How was your Christmas yesterday, AJ?
Oh, absolutely amazing. Watching the 4-year-old open up gifts. She's right now trying to roller skate around the house with her new roller skates. It's fantastic.
I feel like 4 is one of those prime years of like where they still believe in Santa,
She
and they
absolutely believes
they
in
they
Santa.
yeah, and because I know my nephew, he got a present the night before, and he threw a whole fit where he was like, "That's not what I
Oh
wanted,"
no. I didn't get any of that. But
and it was more
man,
of like, "Hey, buddy, you still got Christmas tomorrow." Like, so
mhm.
he didn't connect the dots there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they don't the time is time. How old's your nephew? Like two and a half, three?
he's going on 4 here
Oh.
in next month. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. They don't really understand time as well.
Other than that, yesterday was a big day of football, which is kind of a new thing in basketball used to be the big Christmas day sporting event. We had 3 football games, 2 of them on net streaming on Netflix. And the big storyline there was the Snoop Dogg halftime performance. A lot of people were saying that his performance might have been one of the best in many years, even better than some Super Bowls. So for anybody out there that's a Snoop Dogg fan, I would definitely go check that out.
I have to tell you
Otherwise,
as well, Sip, I I decided to do our Thursday, in past years we've canceled it. I put it out there and I said, if anybody wants to join and do a workshop, this is our paid program participants on Thursday. I'll be there. If nobody shows up, I'll just close the doors early. Full class. Oh
wow.
my gosh, it was like record attendance. Not really. It was about half, but I didn't even expect like 1 or 2 people. I expected some diehards. We had a full class that lasted about 90 minutes, that people were asking questions, really good questions. So, people were we've got investors interested, we've got football people interested, we've got, everything across the board. It's been an active Christmas.
Yeah, and I'm assuming people want to get a little bit of insight as we close the year out. Last week we talked about the Santa Claus rally.
Mhm.
As I was scanning the markets this morning, the big news that I keep seeing everywhere is the commodity prices just through the roof. I know we
Yeah.
talked about gold, but silver, platinum
Mm.
are right behind. That's a big news headline that I'm seeing. But let me kick it off to you, AJ. What is in your purview? What are you seeing this week? I know we had a little bit of data. Where do you want to begin today's
Yeah,
episode?
let's start. Well, so last week we saw a reversal, right? We got confirmation of that reversal on Monday morning. We actually got technical confirmation at the end of Friday's trading, but it was like really weak. But then come Monday morning, that signal from Friday afternoon was solidified, and so we knew that we found a bottom. And so we've been going up since like Thursday, Friday of last week, and then all this week. Very light volume. People have checked out. So I keep telling my program participants, I'm going to tell everybody out there in the YouTube world and in every place that we broadcast, that, we got to watch out. Volume is the great validator. And when we don't have volume, we definitely have just a few traders who are left, who are extreme folks, pushing it, and that can often get reversed. So I expect this low volume SIP to last through today and through all of next week, and not see a resumption and get everybody back into the game and see whatever that happens, not until like January 5th. But on 2 of this week, interesting stuff came about. We got GDP numbers, SIP, and this was the preliminary. Remember, the GDP is reported 3 times every other month. First, the preliminary number, or actually, advanced comes first, then the preliminary, and then the final numbers. So this was the second take of the GDP for quarter 3, and it was much higher than expected. So a couple things happened there, in the morning on Tuesday when there were still a few investors left. I think that a lot of the investors, and traders have checked out for the half day on Wednesday, and I think looking at volume today, there's a lot of people checked out for today too. But, on Tuesday, we still had some people there, and with this number, it came in at 4.3. And last time it was reported, it was gonna be 3.8. Boy, that's not a very easy, color to see. So 4.3. Last time it was 3.8, so that's like a whole percent jump, and they actually were expecting it to go down about a 0.5%. So this surprised everybody, and number 1, actually, skep these numbers. Remember, we've got some questions by investors and traders alike as to the data we're getting, especially from the government, because remember Doge and they just cut the folks that create these reports down to a skeleton crew, and then they've been out for, a while, and they're still recovering from that shutdown. So the first question was, is this data legit? And then the second question is if it is legit, if we actually did that well, will the Fed, especially the current Fed that's got 3 more meetings before a new Fed chief is installed, will the Fed decide that they don't want to, adjust any monetary policy? Because if things are going this well with the current monetary policy, why would you lower rates, right? It wouldn't make sense. It would actually make sense to maybe, tighten things a little bit more rather than so, and of course, in the immediate, investors were like, so on Tuesday, we actually in the morning after this GDP report came out, we actually saw a little bit of apprehension by traders. But then I also, one of my favorite reports, and this isn't a report that comes from the US government, this comes from the Conference Board. It's our monthly consumer confidence report. I don't know if you remember, I talk about this every month. I have never seen numbers this low, and I've been watching this for 30 years, right? Very rarely have we seen it this low and stay this low. Last month, it was at 88.7. It got up just a little bit to 92.9. I'm used to numbers, SIP, between 100 and 110. So when we're 15 points below that, um, I'm just the consumer is not. I think after this holiday season, I think we're going to see some belt tightening across the board, based on these confidence numbers. And the scoop is as soon as traders saw this after that GDP, where this came in the afternoon, 10 a.m. versus 8 a.m., they were like, well, the economy might be doing good in quarter 3, but this is kind of forecasting what's going to be happening. The Fed's still going to need to loosen some monetary policy. So there was this up and down, but I'm keeping on both these GDP numbers and these consumer to see what's going on with these numbers.
And then I assume that this is predicting kind of a 50-50 on the rate cuts here. That you pulled up exactly what my next question was going to be. What are we thinking on the timeline for cuts?
So I think that with especially that GDP number weighing on people, this number has gotten a little bit larger. This means no cut. This means possibly a quarter point cut. Nobody thinks there's going to be a half point cut or a quarter point increase. But what we're seeing here is people are like, come end of January when the Fed meets again, we're probably going to see monetary policy steady. Now, when you start to look out, and again, going out to all these Fed meetings in the future, it's highly speculative, but we can look to the middle of March. Now, middle of March looks pretty much 50-50. There's a few people who think by the middle of March we'll have a half point rate drop, but I don't see it. So by the middle of March, 50% of the people say, well, they'll probably stay steady again. 50% of the people say we're in for another quarter point rate hike. We just got to see things as they go out. As we know, the economy right now is, hit or miss. It's like whatever's on Truth, whatever's on X, whatever is in the headlines is really pushing the economy one way or another. So this could change quite drastically.
Well, I know that President Trump was definitely touting that GDP number all over social and his press conferences and whatnot. Um, uh, and then the follow up to this, where the rate hike is essentially the quantitative easing story. Does that give us a little bit of purview into what the Fed is thinking, what the Fed is doing?
So the Fed numbers didn't come out last night, of course, because it was Christmas. So they're scheduled to come out today. So we don't have any sort of idea of what the Fed did most recently, but we do know that they are doing some quantitative easing. I don't know if this is temporary for just the month of December or if we're going to start buying bonds again. That's my personal worst fear. I'd like to see the Federal Reserve get out of the business of printing money. So I'd like to see this continue to go down, but I understand, the current president likes to have loose monetary policy. So we don't know where we are with quantitative easing with bond buying, but man, bonds went up on those GDP numbers. So, it's an interesting conundrum for the Fed.
And then I see in some of your other tabs, you've got we've got some of the metals, oil. I know that I brought up metals this morning. Those
You
continue to
betcha.
skyrocket.
Yes. The metals. So here's oil. Oil is still low. And there's a potential with what's going on in Nigeria, what's going on in Venezuela, that there can be some changes in the dynamics of supply and demand. But right now, oil is very low, and it doesn't actually make sense at these prices uh, to actually, do any more exploration here in the United States. It's just not economically, a good idea, even with fracking. So keeping the current oil pumps going, that doesn't, have that much overhead. But if prices get lower than this, I could see some of the local pumping stations actually saying it doesn't even make sense for us to be pumping right now. So we'll watch the price of oil. But man, gold, holy moly, Sip. This thing
That's
is up in the air.
150. That's $150 more than we had on our show last week.
So I think this is all telling. I think, there's still folks talking about, well, we're not pulling it out of the ground fast enough. Well, I think that what's happening here is we're seeing people wanting to hedge against the dollar, hedge against inflation, hedge against, this is just a clear sign. Investors are worried about, and they're putting their money into safe reserves. And then the story is silver. Holy moly. Silver just a few months ago was down at $40. It's up at $80 just a year ago. If I go back to a year ago, it was down where we expected it to be, like $29, $25, and now it's at $75, a 300% return. We're hearing a lot about potential short squeezes on folks that have been shorting silver all this time. So, if you start buying to close, that's buying, right? Buying, whether you're opening or closing, is buying. It creates upward pressure on price. Silver is out of control. Silver, remember, is not just a store of wealth, but it's actually used quite a lot industrially. Look at this one. This is copper. Copper is definitely an industrial play, but look at its price. Holy moly. People are taking their money and putting it into all these metals. Platinum is also spiked, but man, when was the last time you saw gold more than my wife? We've been investing in platinum for the last 15, 20 years, and now all of a sudden my wife likes gold again. I'm like, you never liked gold before. She's like, I need some gold. And I'm like, wow, that's even coming down to the home front. And then of course Bitcoin is also like oil, reaching some of its most recent bottoms down at 87,000. And I've heard that a lot of these companies, that their whole purpose is to buy and sell Bitcoin. I was watching on CNBC this morning that one of the biggest players has actually relinquished a big portion of its Bitcoin, and it's taking on US dollar as reserve. So that's interesting on the whole crypto. Has a top been found in Bitcoin? I'm not sure, but it's not good when your Bitcoin buying companies are now, also buying dollars.
Yeah, Bitcoin, the correlation between Bitcoin, gold, and the stock market has really been kind of deviating from natural cadences. It seems like the last 2 or 3 months, and then finally, maybe we wrap this all up with where we're at with the S&P for the year, so that we can kind of, it is the last show of the year. We did mention, talking about things, from an annual perspective. So maybe, we are kind of teetering here at these tops here for the year. So that's probably a good sign for 2025. But AJ, what are you seeing from the S&P, maybe from the short term, and then we can pull it out and take a look at the long term?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look short term first. So, like I said, we confirmed a bottom last we confirmed it this Monday morning, but the bottom wound up being last week, 1217, and it pulled back into that magenta zone that we like for our range contractions, about halfway the previous move, and now it's on the go, right? And the question is where are we going to find the top? Now, a couple of things to point out. First of all, when we finally defined that bottom last week, we now have what we call a mature trend, right? We have two tests of support, we have two tests of resistance. Don't get me wrong, it can get more mature with further tests, but now we're starting to see our best fit trend line not change so drastically as each day of closing prices accrues, right? So we're starting to stabilize this trend, and the question is this going to be a textbook uptrend, or are we going to be more sideways? A close in this green area would lead us to believe that maybe there's an uptrend. Now, again, this is all disclaimered with the fact that anything that happens this week or next week is kind of, skeptical. We're skeptical about it because a lot of traders are out for these weeks. So it's important that we not make any clear decisions about this until we've seen about a week of trading after January 5th. So even next Friday, we won't really have a clear answer to my question as to whether we're in an uptrend, but price action is kind of hinting at that. So we're going to watch that carefully. As soon as we, by the way, as soon as we call a trend, mature, we'll start drawing channel trend lines. So you can kind of see that we're coming up to this level of resistance. So we expect a top to be formed, but the question is will it reverse like we are seeing right now? Will it reverse at the top from yesterday, or do we have a little bit further to go? Will we get into that green zone? So that's my idea. That's what we're seeing on the S&P right this minute. But let's do like you said. Let's take like a year in review. I'm gonna go back to my rainbows, and let's just go back out. So this is from this time last year. So we were coming up from the end of a trend, and then the whole discussion around tariffs was announced, and we came down until about April. And then we had this huge rally from April. And then around September, end of September, beginning of October, we sort of topped. Now, we did top higher than where we started. So it's an up year, but it was a very tumultuous year, kind of restructuring the whole, not just the US economy, but the whole world economy. And I think there's more that is unsettled. So 2026 is actually getting ready. It looks like to me to be another volatile year of playing it day by day.
And I guess my question to you is the tariffs, because that seemed to be the big, push downward this year. Obviously, we've rebounded from that quite healthy. But was it the one-time stochastic uh, influence, like a lot of people are saying, or are we still kind of seeing the ramifications of that, and we should see that for the next year or so?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, right? Because I don't think we have been so long without tariffs, and the economy was such a different animal since the last time the US has put this kind of tariffs on other countries. And by the way, that might be one of the reasons why our precious metals are spiking as well, is just because of the tariffs. The tariffs have actually caused a decoupling of the precious metals from the market, because now there's tariffs on them. It's causing us to want to, a lack of supply domestically. There's a whole bunch of companies that have been created in the last year to just search for metals locally, because it would be cheaper than these tariffed metals from abroad, especially in those industrial metals like copper, platinum, palladium. Those things are, copper, of course, is in all of our plumbing. Platinum and palladium are in all of our cars, catalytic converters specifically. So, interesting dynamics. Nobody knows whether it's a one time hit. The Fed has hinted that they believe it's a one time hit, but we don't know. So it's got to play out further.
All right. Well, that's the annual review there. It seems like 2026 is up for debate. We could go up, we could go down, we could go sideways. But the beautiful part in that is what you and the program participants are doing is not necessarily trying to predict that. We're taking advantage of the opportunities that are presenting themselves. And so,
Absolutely.
with that, I've gone ahead and thrown your quick links page into the chat. So if anybody wants to go ahead and get access to that, head on over there and click that link. And you get access to the free indicator suite. You'll get access to AJ's social links. We've got the wonderful daily workshop that's been going on. So if you're new to premium selling, head on over there. And this is a great way to get the ball rolling. We've got custom coaching, and we've got some information on how you can learn how to become a member in the Trading Trainer community yourself. So the link to that is in the chat. Head on over there. Let's see what else we've got. All right. So, we've got the holiday episode. AJ, we've got a quick sip of the week for this week. I actually thought that this was a bit of refreshing news that I thought everyone might appreciate as much as I do. But it's rare that big news events get released around the holidays. But Google came out. Oh, let me go ahead and swap this real quick. Get this over here. All right. But Google came out yesterday and announced essentially that Google is rolling out a feature to allow users to change their Gmail address. And so the example here was Mike Hawk 420 at gmail.com was a little upset that everyone kept making fun of his Gmail address and he hasn't been able to change it. And so I thought that this was a bit of refreshing news, a little bit of excitement from, some of us that have multiple Gmail accounts where it's like, oh, we might be able to condense it. We might be able to change it. AJ, what do are you happy about this news coming out of Google? As happy as I am?
What percentage of email goes through the Gmail ecosphere? You would know this, something.
I don't know, but I could ask Google or I could ask one of the bots to give us an answer. What do
Okay.
you think? I mean, it's got to be like
It's
70% at this point.
I think it's the majority of it, right? Yeah. Well, and that's another question. So, is this gonna perhaps cause a reinvigoration of email use? I almost feel like folks don't use email as much as they used text, and they use messaging through like WhatsApp or Messenger for the Facebook and Instagram DM things. I'm not sure. I know that for my personal usage, uh, when I get an email, I don't it's not an urgent thing for me.
Hmm.
Unless it's unless I'm looking for it, like I'm on the phone with somebody and they're like, "I'm gonna email you something right now." I don't worry about, responding to emails, and I don't think I get very many personal I'm trying to remember the last time I actually got a personal email from somebody. Uh, Everything's moved to the text. So I wonder if, being able to change your Gmail, is gonna make it possible, to kinda get a reinvigoration in the use of email. I don't know. I
Well, Google for a while had the social like they had a social network.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know if
what
you
was that
remember.
one called? I was trying to remember the
It was like
other
Plus. I think it was like Google Plus or something.
Google Plus account. Yeah, they got rid of that, didn't they?
Yeah, they really could not compete with the other social networks with their rollout. But the reason I bring that up is because that was always tied to your Gmail account, and like a
Yeah.
lot of things get tied to your Gmail account, like your
Yeah.
maps, and like your Google search history, and now even Gemini and the AI and all. So
Yeah.
I think this is good because a lot of people have to create multiple email accounts, and you kind of start to lose track of like I need an email account for this or this
Uh-huh.
is old and I need a new name or whatnot. So I just thought this was kind of nifty heading, to close the year
And
out.
I remember you could put periods, but this is more than that. You could like if your email address, like in this guy, 420 at gmail.com, you could go do a dot 420 and it would still come to the same inbox, but now you could actually change the whole thing. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, well, Mike Hawk might be like an adult now, and he probably doesn't want the 420 in in the Gmail while he's sending out applications. But
Gen Z, man. Love it.
Uh, all right. So that's AJ, or that's our sip of the week. This is our holiday show. As always, lovely folks out there, thank you for tuning in. We are streaming live. So if you have any questions to close the year out, feel free to throw them in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to take a short break here.
Yeah.
We'll be back. We've still got AJ's pick of the week. We've got our speed round, and we'll go ahead and wrap things up and head into the new year and set you all up for success in 2026, folks. So sit tight, and we'll be back in a jiffy.
I get it. You're afraid of trading in the markets. Guess what? I've got your answer. I've got 4 strategies I'm going to give you along with the tools to make it super easy. I'm going right home, giving you the webinar. I need you to sign up below and meet me in a few minutes.
All right, AJ, do you have any New Year's plan this year?
No, I don't. I'm so boring. I am so boring. I'm trying to think. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm gonna be I've been asked to present to a group, and this is not even a group of investors. Matt Basak, a name from my past. His wife is, I should put this on the quick links. His wife has been struggling with kidney disease and is on the list for a new kidney. And every evening she has to go to bed, but be hooked up to a machine for 10 hours to get dialysis. So he started doing a New Year's Eve, New Year's Day charity donation. And so he asked me to present. He actually asked me and Liza, she's in charge of our customer support, to present something. So everybody who presents there presents, and he gave us limits. We are not allowed to do any sort of selling. So it's all going to be just content, and it's going to be varied. It's going to be all over the map of topics, not just trading. In fact, I think I and maybe Marcus are the only two traders, and the rest of them are all different types of investors or business owners. So we have 20 minutes to present something, and then maybe a little bit more, 25 minutes. And then there'll be a bonus that I'm giving along with everybody else. And if you donate to the Kidney Foundation, you get all of our bonuses. And so I thought I'd be giving, for those of you that aren't already program participants, the bonus that I would be giving would be read-only access to our program for a month. That means, not being able to access the live workshops, but still being able to access the replays and not being able to access trade reviews, which is, these are some of the premium components of our program, but still being able to get, the delayed content for a month or so. So I'm kind of excited to present for that, because anything that I can do to help out something like, folks on dialysis, I'm game for.
Yeah, and between our team internally, maybe we should grab that link of and share it with our community as well if anybody else wants to give back, because I agree, AJ. That's a good way to bring in the new
I forgot
year.
I was doing that, but I better get on my ball and put together my 20 minute. Hey, Sip, can I change the subject? Have you seen the list of folks that are companies that are, slated to possibly do an IPO in 2026?
I haven't seen the full list. I did see that there was one company raising quite a hefty amount that nobody's ever heard of. But you did mention a handful of other ones that are,
SpaceX,
eyeballing it. Well, SpaceX, yeah, that one is recent.
OpenAI, that's
Oh,
ChatGPT. Anthropic is Claude. Stripe, the payment processor. Skims, that's Kim Kardashian's fashion brand, making folks skimmy. Although I think she's put out some crazy stuff lately, like my significant other there was showing me some weird lingerie that has built-in nipples. I was like, that's cool.
Well, there's a icon. They built an iconic store not too far from, literally across
Yeah.
the street from my gym, a skim store. It kind of looks like a big diaper almost, but
Oh
like
no.
more modern, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but as
You
soon
mean
as
the
they put it,
outside of the store looks like a diaper?
I mean, maybe I could find a picture, but I don't know how else to categorize it. Maybe like a cloud. It's kind of, it doesn't look like a
Oh.
building. It's just kind of like a big blob of something. But
Mm.
that's kind of like the Skims branding, I think.
Panera.
Um,
Panera might
Pana-
go. They were public, if you guys remember, and then they got bought up by a private equity firm to kind of restructure them, and they may go public again. Discord, some of you use Discord boards. There's a lot of technology, but there's also a lot of and they're expecting 2026. And again, I think they're gonna all these companies will play it, day by day with what 2026, because 2026 has the potential to be, a stellar year. It also has a potential to be a reversal year. This would be the fourth year of gains in our economy. That's usually kind of the where we take a little, pullback. But man, the this could be one of our biggest IPO seasons since 2021. I think we should keep our eyes out for that.
Yeah, we don't usually cover IPOs, but we'll definitely add it to the docket for this year because I do think 2025 was on the low end of IPOs. I
We
mean, there
haven't
might have been like
yeah,
3 or 4 big ones.
we haven't had good IPOs in like 3 or 4 years.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that, folks. And if you guys out there in the ecosphere have any input, insights on any of these IPO names coming forth in 2026, drop us a line, leave a comment. We'd love to get you guys an insight. But IPO or not, New Year or not, Santa Claus rally or not, AJ and the team have their AIs and their scanners out there looking for great opportunities week in and week out. And we love to highlight those here on the show. And so this week, AJ's got an opportunity in a company that I'm very fond of, mostly because they look after my dog very well. But your pick of the week for this week is probably getting a lot of action this week. American Airlines, ticker symbol AAL. Looks like we got a rally setting up. AJ, what are you seeing from your end?
So American Airlines, I've done. You can see I've done my retracement analysis on this, and there was a couple of immature trends in there that I canceled out. But really, the current uptrend started back in June, beginning of June, and it's been going ever since. And we've been on this move, and the move started around the end of November, November 20th, around Thanksgiving Day, and it has really pulled back. I'm going to put on my more traditional swing trading indicators. And so, what I like to look at when I'm swing trading, I love using the Williams percent R as my leading indicator. And I love using a 1 day or close above or below the 7 day for my lagging indicator, right? And I'm actually calculating that on volume weighted average price versus close because I like to throw that in for a little bit of validation. So you can see here, I'm getting a confirmation that this Monday's high was where if you were in that trade, you'd probably want to sell at this point, or you'd want to put on some sort of collar, something that takes advantage of this pullback. That's what my signals are telling me. But what I wanted to let all you guys know, look at how the Williams percent R has been extremely overbought. I want to look at, and again, I'm not going to be doing anything during this, 2 weeks of trading during the holiday season. I'm just an observer. If anything, I might open some paper positions, but I know from having watched this for so many decades that this is not the time for me to be opening and closing positions. I'm looking at American Airlines for the next swing up. So I'm watching this pullback very carefully. I want to see the Williams percent R go to an extreme oversold condition like it did around that November 20th. So I'm watching that Williams percent R and seeing if it pulls back. I'll also be using my retracement, right? A perfect retracement, if you guys remember, kind of getting into like some nerdy talk here, would be a pullback to around this 40 to 60%, about halfway. So both of those would actually correlate with each other. Having the Williams percent R going to an extremely oversold condition, pulling back to this 40 to 60% of the prior move would be exactly where I want it to go. And then I'd like to get another confirmation up. I'd like to get a close of the VWAP above the close of the 7 day simple moving average. And that would be another signal for me to go long, right? So I definitely don't want to go short right now. If anything, I want to close my positions or collar my positions, protect them from the future. But I want everybody to look in the next 2 weeks for that perfect alignment of pullback in the Williams percent R to an extremely oversold condition below the -90, pullback of price to about the 40 to 60% of the prior move zone, this magenta zone between about 1378, 1472. That would be my two leading indicators. And then if I get my lagging indicator as a confirmation, that would be an end of day signal with subsequent day follow through. That would be a signal for me to start buying American Airlines again. I don't want to buy it right now. I want it to pull back to exactly where I just told you guys I want it to pull back to. If it pulls back even further, I want to put the brakes on. I want to look at possibly a reversal happening. But if it goes to those two zones and then gives me a confirmation, I'm thinking that American Airlines, buy them in lots of 100 shares, or I used my options lookup tool, and I love this thing, especially the latest version. And I probably want to go out. I was looking at the September expiration because I wanted to go out far enough that I could do this a few times, especially if I use the collaring strategy rather than the selling. And I was looking at this $8 call. So this is the American Airlines $8, expires September 18th, 2026. It's going for about $8.05 as of yesterday's close. I don't know what the intraday price is, but I'm not interested in buying it right now. And I may revisit this when I finally get my signal, because who knows, it may be that I want to use the $5 call, but right now it's the $8 call that I'm interested in, for when I get that signal to go ahead and start buying again. So there's a lot of things that have to align, but I think people should keep their eyes on it. American Airlines has been one of those steady performers. Anybody who has followed it with us, who have sold some premium and now is into the directional trade on this, has over this year more than doubled your money. You're close to tripling your money if you've been following American Airlines with us since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and from a consumer perspective, uh, this is one of the airlines that I tend to fly the most on, um, and it's been a good experience. So I know there's like a loyalty perspective to some of these traveling companies, and so yeah, I'm going to be flying American Airlines tomorrow. So that's your pick of the week. Ticker symbol AAL. We're going to be looking for a bit of a pullback, but
Pull
you know,
back and then confirmation of a swing up. This is a classic swing trade. If all those three signs I gave you guys align, I think it's time to start going long American Airlines again. Right now, as of today, I think that we are getting our follow through today. I would be thinking about either selling my previous long position and or collaring that previous long position.
all right, AJ's pick of the week, American Airlines. We've got three other interesting names. The first one, I believe we touched on a little bit in the sector, but while we started the show. But our good friend Kyle out of Salt Lake City, Utah, wants to know, AJ, your take on First Majestic Silver, ticker symbol AG. No idea what this company is, but with the name silver in it, I imagine they have something to do in the silver space, which we mentioned earlier is skyrocketing right now. But you're going to take a look using your nifty enhanced, I don't know what we would call this, but business overview in the option lookup tool.
Yeah, it's a good long description of what this company does. Uh, they engage in the acquisition, exploration, development, and production of mineral properties in North America. So again, tariffs on precious metals from other countries has created this new market for digging in North American soil for precious metals. That all had dried up over the last 40, 50 years, right? There's mines in Colorado, mines in Alaska, mines in California, Nevada, all those places that were abandoned. Well, they're all getting a new life with companies like AG. However, um, you know what? Just like in the price of silver, just like in that American Airlines um, example, this is not the right time to be buying. I had a instructor, a trading mentor, not even an instructor. He was more of a mentor to me. Sadly, he's passed away. But he had this saying, Sip. He said, "We." What did he say? He said, um, only do trading actions in times of peace, not in times of war. And what did he mean by that? Well, the dude was saying that, by the time you've already got this kind of price action, you're late to the game. He's like, you want to buy low and sell high. There's never a play to buy high and hope it goes higher, right? And that's exactly what's here. We missed our opportunities to be buying AG. We got signals, we got our pullback on the Williams percent R, we got our signals, and ultimately got our follow through back in the last week around Thanksgiving. And if you didn't do that signal, now is not the time to jump on board. Just like purchasing silver or the silver ETF, what we want to see is exactly what we see in American Airlines. We'd want this becomes classic swing trading, right? We want to see a pullback, and we want to see an ideal pullback to about half of what the prior one was. We want to see our Williams percent R or some sort of other overbought, oversold indicator going to an extreme oversold condition. And that's our leading indicators. Leading indicators are not our signals to buy. We want that to be followed by a lagging indicator. And my favorite one is a simple close above the 7-day SMA. And I like to use VWAP rather than the actual closing price. So see that above the SMA, that would be my end of day signal. So same thing here. We missed our opportunity, Kyle, but let's see if we don't get another pullback and a swing up that we can take advantage of. But let's not just jump in at a high, because, the other thing that happens with swing trades is if we don't hit that 50% target, if we overshoot it and we never get our confirming indicator, they turn into reversals. So whenever we're looking at a swing trade, we're always prepared to trade the reversal as well. And if you just jump on the leading indicator, and or you jump in with FOMO because you're like, this is going too good, I got to jump on board, you're totally positioning yourself for a pump and dump, meaning you're going to get pumped and then they're going to dump you, right? So let's wait and see our ideal pattern. I know it requires discipline. I know it requires patience. I know, FOMO is, killing you right now, but it's too late. If you didn't jump in end of November, you missed this current opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like this is a great example on FOMO because as I was scrolling through the socials, I mean, I'm seeing gold, I'm seeing silver, I'm seeing platinum all skyrocketing up. And usually you think that that's something you want to get in on, but you just gave a very good example of how it could turn against you and really start to hurt the other way.
I mean,
If you,
I have to bring up the silver ETF SIP. I mean, like I said, November 25th at the most, November 26th was the signal. Now, don't do it. You don't do it. It doesn't make sense to do it now. You missed your opportunity a month ago.
Yeah, and if you don't have access to AJ's indicator suite that gives you a clear sign of where to get in here and what would have been a great opportunity, the link to that is in the chat. We've got it in the scroll bar. Head on over there, download it, get it incorporated into your charts. And just so you know, this is going to be continually evolved. AJ and the team are doing a great job of adding more indicators, evolving the indicators, is just trying to set you guys up for success with some tools. And so
Would it
there's a
make
lot of,
sense, SIP? Would it make sense to give people the settings for these swing trades?
well, I believe we've reviewed those a handful of
Okay.
times. So
Okay.
maybe head on over to the YouTube and do a quick search on what setting, I guess. I mean, real quick, if we want to run through them.
Yeah, there's two main indicators. Once you've established a trend, and that's critical, right? I actually just had a private session with one of our high-end coaching clients, and I was like, the most important thing is to understand the pattern. So once you've established that you're in a trend, in an uptrend, What you're going to use probably is your Williams %R set on a length of 14 with overbought at -10, oversold at -90. And that's our leading indicator. Our lagging indicator is going to be one of our indicator downloads, a moving average crossing of a close one day over a 7. These are simple moving averages. And again, if you've got an indicator like the one that we provide, that you can change what price it's calculated on instead of the traditional close, perhaps think about using volume weighted average price. And that'll give you some good end of day signals.
Yeah, and on a side note, that's one of AJ's most popular YouTube videos is the settings to some of his indicators. So,
Yeah.
if you're curious as to whether they're popular or not, they are very popular. So that's AG, I believe. So thank you for that, Kyle. Moving on to our second name, Kelly out of Flagstaff, Arizona, wants to know your take on First Solar, ticker symbol FSLR.
So interesting things about First Solar. So First Solar, so the industry has been quite up and down, hasn't it? First Solar is one of the bigger companies, right? And with the administration coming in, reinvigorating the focus on fossil fuels, kind of, downplaying renewables. A lot of the solars took a hit. A lot of the small companies that were there in 2024, taking advantage of all the stuff that the prior administration was putting in place, kind of fizzled out, leaving these big companies in place. But if you take a look at First Solar, they've kind of figured out, because although the residential, push for solar dematerialized, it disintegrated, there's still a commercial push. There's still incentives by the government for a commercial push. And so some of these bigger companies have figured out how to pivot their business away from residential into commercial. And so First Solar has done that. And if we look back, I'm going to shut off some of my swing trading indicators here that we were just talking about. I don't think they're viable here. If we just look at price of First Solar over the last year, I mean, it's done okay. It like we said, in the beginning of the year, it was unsure, but since around May, a lot of tariffs have been put on foreign solar products, and First Solar is the domestic. You might remember First Solar is that company about 10 years ago that the Obama administration put a lot of money into, and then there was questions as to whether it was well invested or not. But First Solar has done great this year, trading at a low of 120 and now up at 280. And now, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Trump said they're going to put a bunch of the federal windmill projects on hold. And so for those folks that are still interested in renewables, all of a sudden First Solar gets the spotlight just by the fact that wind renewables are not going to be invested in, so people are going to focus back on solar. And who's left? First Solar. Okay, so with all of that, this happens to be kind of an interesting area for me to be watching. So I'm that's why I know all of this about this stuff, right? I like my EV truck. I like battery powers. I like solar on my roof. Anyway, so what do we got here? It does look like we've got some sideways movement. I'm going to put my traditional premium selling indicator, that's the fast MACD, on. Again, it's being calculated on VWAP. You might have some premium selling opportunities here in the short duration. So we're trading between about 270, 275 maybe, and 250, maybe 245, maybe 250 to 270 to kind of keep the channel in there. That's what, $20. That's a little bit of a tight channel. However, you may be able to get a top signal here and do some short-term trading. I actually think, though, maybe your name is Kelly. Kelly, maybe we wait and let this find another bottom around 250. And why don't we go long, right? Why don't we think about, and in this case, it's expensive. So we might not be doing our traditional premium selling strategy. We might be using either some long calls as a substitute or even a vertical spread. We would use a bull vertical spread here. And remember, vertical spreads very quickly go from max profit to max risk, right? Max reward, max risk. So only buy these things are inexpensive. Vertical spreads are very inexpensive. So but realize that your whole investment can dematerialize, disintegrate in a second. So only buy as many vertical spreads as you're willing to lose, or as much, only invest as much money into there that you're willing to lose. But I would say, doing some spreads against this, or even finding a way to, buy some deep in the money, far out in time call options, might be a great idea. But let's wait for this to bottom again. I don't want to. I don't want to short for solar now, even though we're scraping against this top. I'd rather go long. So let's let it pull back, and then when we get a signal that, and I think it's going to be around 245, 250. That's when we want to buy low.
All right. That's AJ's take on First Solar, ticker symbol FSLR. Thank you for that, Kelly. Moving on to our third and final name in the retail space. Jill out of Trenton, New Jersey wants to know, are we selling a ton of Air Jordans and Nikes this holiday season? She wants to know, AJ, what's the take in Nike, ticker symbol NKE?
So I love Nike. I really do.
The stock or the apparel?
Both.
Oh.
Both. And I have to say, there's a lot of brands that aren't doing well in this athletic and athleisure is what they call it. Lululemon is what comes to mind. We've had Lululemon on our list for a long time, and Lululemon has really hit the toilet. I think people have realized that there's a whole bunch of other brands out there, and they don't have to pay the premium price at Lululemon. And I think Lululemon's quality has gone down. Listen, Nike had some hard times. They brought in a CEO, and that CEO has now been replaced. They were trying to do some stuff, and they got a little bit over their skis. But the new CEO and Nike's the biggest customer. I think, I'll be honest with you, Jill, I think Nike's at a low here. It's not necessarily one of our premium selling positions, but I think Nike is one of those positions that they are a stock that I want to have in my portfolio for the long term. So maybe you try, if you are on the same page as me. I mean, we're seeing a bottom forming here after this earnings. I don't think you should discount Nike. I think that they're restructuring. I think that having their stock in the long term is not a bad idea. How about cash secured, or some people call them naked puts, in order to buy this stock? So here's what we do. We go and we take a look at the stock chain, and we use something called near term. I usually go for the monthlies. So if you have some sort of filter, we can look at just the monthlies, not the weeklies. All right. Go for the next expiration. So that's January 16. I don't know how I got to Condor. I think I clicked. There we go. And so we've got these different strike prices. Basically, this is how much are you willing to pay for a share of Nike? Nike is currently trading at, it looks like $60.12. if you're willing to pay $50 for a share of Nike, then you can sell this put. And what this put is basically saying is between now and January 16th, if somebody wants to sell you Nike shares for $50, the transaction will go through. So you have to have $50. In fact, because this is a contract, it's 100 shares. You have to have 50 times 100. You have to have $5,000 in your account if this transaction goes through. In the meantime, they're going to give you a nickel per share for just putting this order out there, right? They pay you to put that order. If you're willing to pay $55, a little bit more per share, they're going to give you 15 cents per share right now just for putting that order out there. And if nobody between now and January 16th wants to pay you, let you pay $55 a share, this option goes away. It expires worthless, but you get to keep the 15 cents. If you're willing to pay a little bit more, if you're willing to pay $57.50, they'll give you 46 cents a share, and then you have to have the $57.50 ready. But if between now and January 16th, nobody's willing to sell it to you for that low, then you just keep the 46 cents a share. So maybe we use that in order to buy this Nike stock and get paid if our order doesn't get through, or get paid if it does get through. You get paid either way. And then you can apply that and actually reduce your break even, your cost basis even further, because you keep getting this money for putting the orders out there. So that's what I would do. I would try to accumulate some of these shares of Nike, but not buy them outright. Buy them using this naked put, cash secured put strategy, where you get paid for putting the order out there, whether it fills or not.
Yeah, and from what I remember, they were hit hard by these tariff news, as you can see, kind of that big pullback in April. However, the majority of their manufacturing isn't in China, from my understanding, and they were able to recover from that tariff drama. I believe because Vietnam, I think, might be one of the countries did cut a
Vietnam and Nepal, maybe.
yeah, they cut a deal with the Trump. So tariffs isn't really like a storyline anymore. It's more of like
Yep.
sales and consumer
I
based.
think Nike is going to be the winner, and a lot of these small kind of boutique brands like Lululemon and even Athleta, I think they're going to go to the wayside over the next couple of years. I think Nike's being managed well now. I think Nike's gonna pull out. Even Reebok is in the toilet, right? So Nike's the player, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that, Jill. Hopefully that was insightful. And thank you for your feedback and analysis, AJ. Looks like we're getting close here to the end of the show, the last show of 2025, AJ. We're going to be avoiding big market moves, big market actions in the next week. When we come back online next week for our show, it will be, I believe, the first day of trading of 2026. So we'll do some recalibrating and get everyone set up for success. AJ, any final words to our lovely viewers who have accompanied us through this amazing 2025 year?
No, I think that you stick with us, and we'll just play it day by day. I think that's really the name of the game. You have to be flexible and you have to be disciplined. So, you know, uh, when you find a symbol, don't dictate to the symbol how you're going to trade it. Instead, ask the symbol. Know how to analyze the pattern. Know how to apply to the pattern that you identify the strategies to make it work, right? Don't go in there dictating, I'm only going to do this, this, and this. Be flexible and be aware. And then once you create your trade plan, we're going to be disciplined and just stick with the trade plan, stick with the signals, not be, distracted by FOMO or anything like that on silver shares. Make sure we go when the signals are there, right? And I think we're going to have a nice 2026.
I agree. And with that, we invite all of you to follow along. The links to all of AJ's amazing tools are in that quick links page. Head on over there and show us some love on the socials as well. And you know, I guess we'll see you in the new year. But looks like we got a squirrel riling up here.
Love it. This show's alive, man.
All right, AJ. Well, it's been a wonderful year. I thank you for your lovely analysis and feedback for the community. I know that they all appreciate it. I'm wishing everybody a very happy holidays and a wonderful new year. We will see you guys next week, next Friday, and yeah, stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone. Take care.
Thank you for tuning into the AJ Brown Show. If you're interested in learning more about AJ and his investing techniques, head on over to tradingtrainer.com and create your free account today. And if you're not already a subscriber to the show, hit that subscribe button and we'll get you fresh content.